I've read a number of your articles, really enjoyed them. And one of them made a very interesting comparison between the legal profession and professional sport, which surprised me a little bit at the start. But when I read on, I got where you were coming from. Just tell the audience where you see that similarity and perhaps what the causes of burnout or adverse well-being are in both of those very different walks of life.
Thanks, Simon. Great question. What I've observed the similarity when we think about elite performance, right? One of the reasons athletes go and become the elite performers that they are and make it to the Olympics and get a gold medal is because they work on their skills, absolutely, and they have talents, but they add the mindset element to it. And that's really the difference between the good and the great athlete, right? With the same level of skill set, but an optimized mindset, that really makes a difference. And I observed the difference between lawyers that are fantastic, but don't last because they burn out and they can't sustain the workload. And lawyers that are fantastic and really highly trained and highly skilled, but they sustain the distance. And I noticed that the big difference between the two was the mindset, was that mindset of the resilient athlete, of knowing that you need to get the support, knowing that you need to treat your body as part and parcel of what will enable you to perform well, right? If you're operating with lack of sleep, poor nutrition, stress snacking, not optimizing movement, you're actually going to have a knock-on impact on your brain, which is the number one organ that you need to perform as a lawyer. That's going to have an impact on your body as well. If you are crippled with aches and pains and lower back pain and shoulder pain and neck pain, how are you going to perform in court? How are you going to perform in the office? All of this have an impact. At first, we may not look at it. And very often when I work with lawyers, the mindset is it's work first, billable hours first, target hours first, then I'll care about my health and well-being when I have time, if I have time. And this is perhaps a bit bleak, but this is the hard truth, Simon. A lot of the time, that later or that when I have time doesn't happen, because most of my clients start to consult with me because they've had a health care, they just had a diagnosis, or they were so unwell that they couldn't cope with the work anymore. And that is so unfortunate.
It is, because if you think about that menu of opportunities or areas of our life we've got to positively influence our well-being, you mentioned sleep, nutrition, exercise. It is within our control to a very large extent, isn't it? And it is a shame that there's something about the legal profession that we seem to be hardwired as we go through our academia and the early part of our training to think that long hours, food on the go, no real opportunities to exercise, high pressure billable hours, demands from clients. The other thing which always seems to me is the additional pressure of being a lawyer is it's expected that we're always right, so that our advice is always right. So you mentioned this issue of perfectionism. Well, there must be very few professions where being perfect is almost considered a given, and that adds additional stress.
I love that you brought that up. I remember having night terrors about typos and anxieties, the sort of proofreading and the importance, because it is important. And as a lawyer, and I don't mean just a typo in terms of grammar, but this level of perfection when you're sending that document to the client or to the other side, you can't afford not to have it be perfect. And if there was a typo, it would be the end of your career, and you start to go into catastrophic thinking. And I remember being crippled by fears of having not done it well enough, although my performance was really great. And when I hear clients nowadays, at the end of the day, at night, they have a really great tendency to go, well, I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and that was not good, and that was not great. And actually, it takes so much time and effort to dive in deeper and uncover the things they did do well, because there were plenty, but they just completely overlooked them. And that's because of the lawyer's brain, right? The lawyer's brain is a gift, but it's also a curse. It's a gift because we're so attentive to details, we're solution-orientated, we have high service to our client. We know how to find solution and troubleshoot, but it's a curse because we can be a little obsessive at times with reaching perfection, which is frankly unattainable, but also a curse because it's never enough. It's never good enough.